Okay, so again, many thanks and welcome to this event on social media for business, hosted by Smarter Society and on behalf of North Northamptonshire Council. We have got some great speakers for you today. We've got Richard Liverman and Greg Ward, who will be introducing themselves. My name is Brian Pinnell. I am the head of the engagement team. Some of you may have seen me on the high street, beating the streets, as we like to call it, signing people up for this great scheme. Now, it's a high street mentoring and events type event. So a scheme where we go around, we talk to the businesses, we engage with them on a one-to-one basis. We sign them up for mentoring and we get them support that they need in areas that they ask for. So obviously the first one and the main one that we've been asked for is social media. And we've got Richard, who is a great social media guru, mentor, one of our team, and he will be doing the main talk for us. Afterwards, we will be having a social gathering, a networking event for you to talk, exchange numbers. You can come and speak to me about the event and I will give you more details on it. So without further ado, Greg, if I'd like to have a couple of words, I'd like to introduce Greg, who is our Principal Regeneration Officer at North Northamptonshire Council. Thank you, Greg.
Thanks very much, Brian, and hello to colleagues that are online and hello to colleagues in the room this morning. And as Brian was saying, we're a very small economic development team here at North Northamptonshire Council. There's 3 in the team at the moment, and we're all committed to doing a variety of things to help the economic environment within North Northamptonshire particularly, although we don't stop at the red line of the council because businesses are always, of course, interconnected. So things we do are things like inward investment, business support. We do a lot around the town centre at the moment as well. There's a lot of planning and strategy that we're working on for town centres, some of the issues that are there within the 12 towns that we now are as a unitary. And then we also do nighttime economy, tourism, and rural areas, which of course we've got as North Northamptonshire quite a rural hinterland to the area. But basically, the only thing that I was wanting to stand up today, and you'll be pleased to know I'm not going to say too much, is I just wanted to say from the economic development team and from the council, thank you very much for having your business in North Northamptonshire, because it all helps towards the prosperity and what we're trying to achieve as North Northamptonshire, not as the council, but in improving people's lives. And so that's what we're trying to do, is provide interventions to actually help improve the economic environment around which businesses can operate, because we know it's difficult at the moment. We've got, energy crisis, cost of living crisis, high street issues that need resolving. So there's a lot of work to do. So to be a business at the moment in these times, that's a very good thing to do, but it's also, we're hoping it will be a legacy for what will be much better town centres and retail opportunities in the future. So my second thank you is to Smarter Society, because they are the retail experts. So you're in really good hands today. And finally, I just wanted to say, we've got some other services that the council provides. So this is just a leaflet. I'll leave it on the table. Please take one if you want to, or speak to Brian, speak to Richard, and they'll put us in touch, you in touch with myself if you need us for anything council related. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Brilliant, Greg. Many thanks for that. Like I said, there is time at the end of this to network. You all know who we are. There'll be questions for people online as well. So if you want to put them in the chat, like I said, we'll be able to deal with it as and when they come through. If we could ask you to have the questions at the end of the presentation for the online, and then I will put them questions to Richard on your behalf. And without further ado, I'd just like to introduce Richard Liverman from Richard Solutions. Many thanks.
Morning, everyone. Hi, I'm Richard. I collect ping trainers, amongst many other things, and I'm going to be talking to you today about social media. And as a means of introduction, this is sort of me and my favourite kind of pose, which is a glass of whiskey, thinking deeply about business. And I put on there a few of my social media links. And this presentation at the end, if you go to the NM Business website, we'll be able to give you a copy of it. It's got all of the links that you'll see throughout the presentation. And I put on there my LinkedIn, my Instagram, my YouTube, which I need to update, and also my Twitter account, because there is rather a lot of social media. A few years ago, well, 3 years ago, I set up my own business, and it is a consultancy, business consultancy, coaching and mentoring. And for me, I feel really, really lucky that I get to have my own business and get to share with people my knowledge, my skills and my thinking. And that's what my business is all about, just helping other people. In the past, I've worked on quite a few interesting brands, Sainsbury's, Tesco's. I've launched iTunes in the UK. I've worked on Adidas and quite a lot of chocolate brands, sort of a little bit of an obsession on chocolate. Been to 2 chocolate factories, no Oompa Loompas, which was disappointing. And I love whiskey, so I'm very lucky to have worked on Jack Daniels and a few other big brands. And I always think, what can you learn from these really big brands, and how can you put that thinking into your business? And certainly we can think about it from a social media perspective. And that's what I want to talk about today. How can we put some thinking into social media to support your businesses? This was a really large project I worked on for Nike at the 2010 World Cup. This is Ballman. He's made of 5,500 footballs suspended from the ceiling. What was really interesting is if you create amazing content, people will share it for you. And that's going to be part of the theme today. So today, what I want to do is share stories. And obviously, we've done a bit of a welcome already. And thank you to Brian and Greg for that. But I want to think about, how do we share stories? Because everybody loves stories. And I think what's so interesting is probably 2007, Facebook changed the way we all think, how we share stories. It might have been on the phone or in the pub or out and about. Now we share stories online. So what I want you to think about is, how can you share your stories, and how can you get people to share your stories? And I also want to think about how important social media is to businesses. And I think where it becomes really, really interesting is that it's almost an unavoidable part of society now. And we'll talk about some of the statistics and data around this. But social media is part of our lives, and we need to really sort of embrace it to get the most out of it for our businesses. So this next slide is a very simple one, and I'm going to ask the people in the room, and I'll share it with the people online. What social media do you use? Any shout outs from anybody? Facebook, Insta, Facebook, TikTok. Okay. LinkedIn. I think the blue and white's a bit of a giveaway what direction I was going in, because I really miss MySpace and Friends Reunited, which were my favourite social media. And I keep trying to log on to both, although MySpace is making a comeback. I just haven't got the capacity to do it yet. So I always think about, it's interesting to think about social media we use, but do we know what our customers use? And I think it's really interesting, because sometimes what we use might not be what our customers use. And there's a question around the demographics and preferences, and also about tailoring our content. What we put on LinkedIn might be different to what we put on TikTok. Maybe, maybe not. But I think there's something about thinking about what content we use and how we engage with people. Not everyone is on Facebook, although most people are, which is an interesting one. Lots of people have got accounts but don't necessarily use them. And I myself fall into that category. I miss MySpace. So we're really thinking about, what social media do our customers use? So for my business, personally, although I showed you all of those accounts, the ones I most commonly use are LinkedIn and Instagram. As a consumer, I also use X, formerly known as Twitter. It seems like Prince when it became a symbol. I like Twitter now and again, but I always think about, okay, well, what do my customers use, and how can I go to them? And I thought, let's have a look at some data, because we need a bit of data. And this both excited me and scared me in equal measures. There's 57.1 million users of social media in the UK. It's remarkable. And I put a link into the data. And this graph that you can see up here it's a little bit blurry on the screen, but hopefully you get the gist of it, that the number one social media is WhatsApp, number 2, Facebook, number 3, Instagram, and number 4, Facebook Messenger. So we've taken YouTube out of this, but the top 4 are all Meta. And I think it's really interesting to think about that. And although we're saying not everyone's on Facebook, it is still the most commonly used social media. And I find it fascinating that you can see Twitter and TikTok on that, and this will change. This is where it is in late 2023. I'd imagine it's going to look very different by the end of this year as TikTok continues to grow. Maybe MySpace comes back. We'll see, he says optimistically. But also, I think it's interesting what demographics use it. And I always find this fascinating. I have a teenager, and if you ever want to know about social media, just ask a teenager, because they are gurus in this. And it's really interesting because if you look at the Gen Zs, so we've got 18 to 26, they're not so keen on Facebook and they over-index on Twitter. And then you've got the millennials, where you can see Facebook, TikTok and Instagram and YouTube are pretty steady. And then Gen X, it's all about Facebook. And I think it's fascinating when you see it, and even down to the baby boomers, it's all about Facebook. So you can see that the different demographics, the way they use social media is different. So I find this information really, really interesting. And when you think about who your customers are, you need to go to them. And this is a really interesting way of looking at it from a sort of big picture perspective. So we talk about choosing the right platforms. And I think there's something really important about selecting the social media that's right for your business. And, you know, TikTok's a fantastic platform. Twitter does really, X does really, really well for the over 40s. And there's something that it's about selecting the ones that are right. Now, there's additional training and support. And I put a couple of links on here. Wenta, an organization that's based in this area, I've got a free training on that, and I put a link to it. And again, at the end of this presentation, you'll be able to get it from the NM Business website, and we can share this out with you. But there's free training on Facebook for Business. It's well worth going on it. They record the sessions and go and watch it. It's fantastic knowledge. Get your business visible on Google. There's going to be a session on this coming up through this training program, so I don't want to spend too much time talking about it. But when I work with businesses, the first thing I do is go and have a look at their Google My Business profile. I do that because I want to know what it is they do. I want to have a look at their reviews, and I also want to see how updated it is. But looking after your Google My Business, you're also looking after your customers and your SEO, and it's a brilliant, brilliant thing to do. And it's so brilliant, we're going to do a whole separate seminar on it because there is so much information. But again, I put a link on there for the very basics around Google My Business, which you need to have a look at, please. Now, one of my favorite topics is content creation. And this is one that people get really excited about or utterly terrified. And everybody wants to talk about high quality content. And I'm going to give you a couple of tips for creating engaging content. Again, if you go onto my Instagram account, you can argue with me whether it is mine's engaging, but I'll leave that for you to decide. But for me, to create engaging content, it needs to be inspiring. People love it when it's funny, and it needs to be helpful as well. What problems are you solving for people? And if you think about the accounts that you follow as a consumer, they're often funny, inspiring, and helpful. How can you share what your users of your businesses put out there? So for instance, how many people have gone into a restaurant and everybody's taking pictures of it? And there's a restaurant in America where they talk about the camera eats first. And if you've ever gone into a restaurant with a teenager, the camera definitely eats first. And I think there's something around how can you educate your customers to share content about you? And it's just something to think about. We also know that creating content can be difficult, coming up with ideas. For some people, being creative is relatively straightforward. And you're like, I've got an idea, away you go. And for other people, it can be a little bit harder. So I put a link on there to ChatGPT. It's an AI tool. And you can go on there, and I did it recently for a business in Thrapston, where we went on there and said, can you create 10 content ideas for, say, a butcher's or a baker's? And it came up with a whole load of content ideas for you. This is where AI can be really helpful, and it's free. Don't get me wrong, you still need to put your business twist on it. Otherwise, people will see through it. But for the original thinking, it's a great way to come up with some ideas. Now, you'll see from the picture, there's a lot of pink on there. And there's a reason for it, not because pink is the best color in the world, but because this is a fantastic account for content. It's called Elan. It's a restaurant and cafe in London, and it's very famous for being London's most Instagrammable restaurant. There's one at St Pancras Station. If you get off the train from Corby, Kettering or Wellingborough, you'll see it on the left side. Go into the one in Soho, it's more fun. And the reason why I'm sharing this content with you is people often go, how do we create content that is easy for consumers to understand? And for me, I love Elan. The food's overpriced, but it's all right. But their content and their Instagram's fabulous. And I put the link to it there. And you can see from the pictures, it's really, really simple. Food, restaurant, people. Food, restaurant, people. Food, food, people. And what's so clever is their content pillars. They've said every piece of content we do will fall into one of these three categories: food, restaurant, or people. Now, for my business, I use three content pillars: education, inspiration, and about us. By having the content pillars, it helps you create content that's relevant for your audiences. And then again, you can support it with AI if you need to. But having those content pillars makes it easy for people to understand what you're trying to do. And you can do some really creative stuff once you've got it. So I want to share an example of what I think good content looks like. And I think there's something about how can you create high quality content. We've all got amazing camera phones. That's a really simple place to start. But how can you create something that's inspiring? And for me, this is a retailer that I've worked with in Kent called Rathman and Huxter. And they create amazing displays using just products from Kent. What I love about this post is it's really inspiring. They've made really simple things into something really beautiful, but they've also used lots and lots of hashtags. And what I like about that is they're talking about Kent, they're talking about the products, and they're giving people reasons to come back to their content and hopefully come back to their store. And I put a link to Rathman and Huxter onto the presentation, so please give them a follow. They're great. One of the most common questions that we get asked about social media is, how often should we post? Consistency and frequency. And there's various social media gurus that will tell you, you need to post 3 times a day. You need to post once a day. I think about it slightly differently. You need to do a posting that works for you and your business. Not everybody can post 3 times a day. So what I've done is I put a very simple social media calendar on here. And again, please go to the link, download the calendar. What's more important than posting 3 times a day is the importance of doing this regularly. If you're going to post, be consistent with what days you're posting on. And again, I post on a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Friday, and I stick to it religiously. And it's balancing that frequency with quality. If you can do great posts every day of the week, good luck, go for it. But actually, what's more important to your audience is that consistency. Now, what you can do is use a scheduling tool to streamline your postings. And there's lots of tools where you can pre-create your content, and a tool like Hootsuite will post it for you. What's more important for me is the consistency rather than how often you do it. If it's once a week, great. If it's once a month, great. But be consistent, please. Your audience would appreciate it. Building a strong brand presence. I think what's so fascinating about small businesses, medium-sized businesses, is that you create these amazing brands. Share them online. This is what's great about social media, and it's free. Be consistent with your tone and voice. Doesn't matter what platform you're on. If this is what you stand for, use that tone of voice all the way across everything you do. Share your brand's personality. Gives people a reason to spend time with you online and in person. And how can you really get the most out of your visual identity, your logo, your color, your palette? And I want to share with you a business in Oundle that I thought did something really nice a couple of weeks ago. It's called Bumble and Twig. They're a toy shop in Oundle. They're really, really fantastic products and a really great ethos to the store. And again, I put the link in there to them. Please give them a follow. They're really super. Share with your friends. They did a post saying, children see magic because they look for it. And they created a video around it. And I thought this is really, really beautiful. And if you go into the store, you kind of get it because they've got a few things at the kids level, people that work there, all the products they've sourced are because these are products that they love for their kids. And there's this whole kind of, they encourage children to look with their hands. And the whole personality of the store comes over in this really fantastic post. And I think there's an opportunity for them to kind of share that ethos. And that's what I mean about sharing the brand personality. Gives other people reasons to come and spend time with you and hang out with you. Engagement and community building. What's really interesting for me, so many people do a post and they go, well, that's it, we're done. No, you need to engage and respond to the comments because that's where you educate your audience. And I think it's so important that you look to do this properly. Now, if you're busy all the time, you can set up a response. Meta do this where you can almost do an out of office, we'll get back to you. But if people are messaging you, respond to them, build up the conversation, encourage that engagement. I don't know how many people have ever watched an Instagram live where people actually, you can do a Q&A with people. It's fantastic. It drives engagement. It drives people to have a conversation with you. And again, things like polls, competitions, they're also great for market research as well. There's also that fostering a sense of community. And I think it's really interesting, the number of stores, I've been working in Oundle recently, and there's a number of stores that will also promote other people in their community. And I think there's something, we were talking about, Greg was talking about Northamptonshire earlier. I think there's something where, how can we support our community? Is there a really fantastic store near you or business near you that's got a birthday or an event coming up? How can you share that with your community? I think what's so fascinating is when you see those stories and those kind of posts, they're the ones that you're giving to your community, not for you, but for other people. And it is about building a community. And it's just nice. It's a nice thing to do, supporting and collaborating with other people. Now, one of the questions that we've been asked a lot recently is about influencers. And I'm not referring to Kim Kardashian, although for $1 million a post, it's supposed to be quite reasonable. But there are local influencers. And we were talking earlier, there is a butcher's in Thrapston that use a local barbecue influencer. He's got about 10,000 followers on Instagram called Robs. And I'm not going to even give you a link to his account because you'll all be on it and not listening to this. And his food's amazing. What I love about it is there's a butcher's in Thrapston that's using an influencer saying, look at the food that we've got from here. Look what you can do with it. Now, using influencers can be expensive. You need to find the right ones. And what I've done is I put a link on there to a website called socialblade.com. This is a free website. You need to sign up to it. And what you can do is you can look at the engagement levels of people that you might potentially work with. So you can see how many followers they've got. You can see the engagement rate. So do your research before you decide to work with somebody. Influencers are becoming a growing part of the marketing mix. Handle with care. And there's a tool on there to help you with that. How can you integrate your social media with other marketing channels? Now, I think social media is part of the marketing mix. It's not all of it. So what I like to do is think about how can you cross-promote things? How can you integrate events? So if you've got an email list, can you communicate to them via social media as well? And can you incorporate the kind of in-store promotions and events into your social media? And a really simple example of this is one of my favorite fried chicken restaurants in London called Chicken and Sours. And again, there's a link there Be careful if you've not had lunch before you click on it. What they've done brilliantly is they've done their specials and just simply shared it on social media. It's that simple. If you've got a leaflet, share that leaflet. If you've got a promotion, share it on social media. And I think this was their lunchtime promotion. They did a brilliant one for kids during half term. Kids eat for £1. It was in the restaurant. It was on social media. How do I know? Because I follow them on social media. And again, think about the hashtags that you're using. Think about storytelling. What are the stories you're sharing? You're sharing what's going on in your business online. It's just a nice way to think about it. And apologies for anybody that clicks on the link. You will be hungry. Handling negative feedback. This is one that scares everyone. What happens if I get a bad review? Because we all love reading bad reviews and seeing how people respond to it. So this is a really simple one. Have a think about how you set up a system to respond to it, and go and have a look about who does this well. There's a hotel I love following in California because they get terrible reviews, but they're really brilliant at responding to them. And I don't know why. It's really addictive. But have a think about who does this well, who responds to negative reviews really well. How can you turn them into positive experiences? And I think the classic is, and we won't talk about East Midlands Railway, but the classic is, how do you get people off social media and into a direct conversation with you? And it's a really simple way of thinking about it. If you get a negative review, respond to it and say, I'm really disappointed to hear this. Here's my email address. Let's have a conversation, because that way you're taking it out of the public eye. And just have a think about some crisis management strategies. And again, I put a link to a really good blog that's got some ideas on there. Because if you can deal with this quickly and smoothly, your audience will really appreciate it. Legal, you've got to be compliant legally. So think about data and GDPR, especially if you're building lists. If you're think about copyright, if you're going to use the song, make sure it's under 30 seconds, I think is the current rule on Instagram. There's also advertising and standard guidelines. And again, I put a link on there to a blog. But I think the most sensible strategy is actually the easiest. Think before you post. Really, really think about what you're posting out there, because that's the easiest way to prevent all of these legal problems. And if you're not sure, check before you post. Back onto Google. How can you maximize your local SEO? Really, really simple. When you're using your hashtags, and we talked about this with a number of businesses locally, think about not just the hashtags for the town or where you are, but what are the villages? What is the area around there? And if you're online and you've got kind of a multi-channel business, can you put those hashtags for more than one place? It's really, really simple, but it also benefits you. So when you're posting, especially on, say, Instagram or Facebook, and you're using those hashtags, then what you can do is, by putting all the different areas in, if somebody's searching for that area, it's going to bring your posts up. It's really, really good for SEO as well. And again, we talked about Google Business Profile. Please have a look at the link there. And again, there will be a further session on this. And what you can do on the location settings on Google, you can put multiple areas, which is really beneficial to your business. One of the things that I talk about a lot is encouraging people to leave you reviews and ratings. It's a really, really simple way to boost your SEO, but also, if you get a really good review, share it on your social media. I was very lucky. I got a nice one the other week and I reshared it, and it's been a really popular post for me. So if you get that, it's great content for you as well. And again, remember to geotag your posts. If you've got a coffee shop in Kettering, tag it as Kettering, because it will help you with your SEO, for example. Collaborations and partnerships. I love this. And when I started saying that, I thought, sound like vanilla ice there. But you really do need to collaborate with other local businesses. It's a great way that you can share your audiences. And what's so great is seeing lots of different businesses here and online. If there's people that you're getting to talk to, build up a relationship, and you can think about how can you share their business and maybe reciprocate it. But we talked about earlier about the idea of community. If there's somebody posting that is in your community, support them with a like or a comment. It's hugely valuable and makes a real difference to businesses. And it's also quite nice when you get them yourself. And I put on here a few organisations locally that are doing great work. The High Street campaign, and please come and talk to the team here. They're doing loads of great work going into businesses and sharing this brilliant campaign and encouraging their community to go and visit independent businesses. So again, I put the Facebook, the Instagram links on there. Please get in touch with them. One of the things that I really, really enjoy doing is learning from other people. And what I've done on here is put a load of links for people that I follow, that I learn from. And the first one is actually from Canada. Her name's Take Roots, and she shares lots of posts about how to do great content, engagement. It's fantastic. Please give her a follow. I put the High Street campaign from North Northamptonshire because I think they're brilliant at what they're doing. I put in there a GIF artist called Izzy Ing. She's amazing. She's had over 6 billion views of her GIFs. She created some GIFs for myself, and I'm up to 180 million views. She is amazing. She offers great advice, and again, it's all free. For business inspiration, I put my Instagram on there, sorry. For tips on social media, I put another organisation called Tonic that I think posts some really interesting things around websites. And there's a great local networking society in Northamptonshire called NN Business Network. And I put a link to them as well. They do some really nice B2B information that might be useful to people. And I put a link on there as well. So in conclusion, for me, it's all about how do you share your stories? Because your stories are amazing. That's the interesting thing. You build a business, go and share it. I also suggest you take a strategic approach to social media. Think about your content pillars, where your audience are, and how you communicate to them. It's low cost and offers all kinds of benefits. Just be careful. And that's why I put the legal T's and C's in there as well. We implement strategies, but it's okay to change them and adapt them, because sadly, Friends Reunited is no longer with us. So we know social media platforms are changing all the time. You can change your strategies. Connect, support, comment, like, share. Are there local businesses that you can get behind and support? It's a really good thing to do, and it builds that sense of community. So my final challenge to you all is go share your amazing stories. That's what is wonderful about social media. It's about storytelling. Go share your stories with people that know you already, need to find out about you, or don't know about you, but you want them to fall in love with you. Any questions?
Let's talk about hashtags.
Yes.
We talk about them all the time.
Yes.
I don't know very much about hashtags. I know how to put hashtag pairing, but how does it actually work? What does it do?
In simple terms, it's a way to help people search. So
Okay.
whatever you put in there, let's say I was searching for a new pair of shoes.
Yeah.
I might go into, let's say, Instagram, but hashtag pink trainers.
Right.
And it's almost like a search term.
Okay.
So what you're doing is when you use hashtags, it's about making your content easy for other people to find. So whether it's catering, as in where you're locally based, I would also encourage you to go, well, who's within a 10-minute drive of here? Then I'm thinking about what is it you're talking about and how can you make it easy for your audience to find you? And that's the simplest way of thinking
And
about
can hashtags be acceptable put on the bottom of the post?
this is
Because
lots of
some
argument.
thousands, don't you?
Yes, and there's a big conversation about this on Instagram or Facebook. You put it in the comments or on the post. The algorithm changes, so what's relevant now will be different because Instagram keep changing the rules on what's successful. I say it's a good rule of thumb 20.
Is that on all of their social media platforms that you can use hashtags like Facebook, Instagram?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Even X. Yeah. You're not alone in that.
Oh, good.
That's
I've
the
tried several times.
people at the minute are tagging highlight. And that alerts everybody, is that right?
Let's get back to on that. Anyone's following you, if you put at followers, it tells everyone, especially on Facebook. And that's anything if you follow post online.
I think that's what's really interesting about that is your reaction to it. And I think this is what I said about know your audience. And if you think about it, if you get junk mail, and you don't like it. So think about, if you think about it from your customer's perspective, what do they want? And I get the idea of like, here I am, look at my post, aren't they great? But if you're a customer and it's a bit, I think that's a little bit intrusive. But I can understand why people do it, because sometimes people get desperate. And I think from a consumer's perspective, you're there going, I don't like that. And the reaction is pretty unanimous to that.
Yeah.
Great question, thank you.
Along with the hashtag thing, like my business caters sort of like nationwide, and you use the hashtags to put locations that it will then hopefully feed me to those locations, or does it not quite work like that?
Well, first of all, on Google My Business, go into locations and also you can put add them all into Google My Business, which will really help your SEO. I would suggest being a little bit more targeted than that. So if you're doing a post to say a specific area, let's say you're going to Derbyshire as a made-up example, you might do a post about, I don't know, Ashbourne, Matlock, and then hashtag all the towns in there on that post. Just be careful to make sure it's relevant rather than spamming. Just like, But on the Google My Business, come to that workshop, because what we can do is show you how to change all your location settings. So for my business, I've changed the location settings, both locally and nationally. And it's a really great way of doing that. It might be more effective than doing that hashtag question. I hope that helps. Yeah, thank you.
Sorry.
That's right.
I've seen that, like, my daughters, are like pre-teens, and they're always flicking through the reels.
Yeah.
Is that more popular than posting? Because sometimes when I post on Facebook, it gives me the option of turning it into a reel.
Right, it's one of those ones where the algorithm keeps changing on it. So just for perspective, the average British person scrolls with their thumb each week the equivalent height of the Statue of Liberty. So if you think about it, how many times you've been in the bath and you've been scrolling through reels? So your thumb would have climbed the Statue of Liberty, which is just a crazy thing to think about. What I think is more important is how do you stop the scroll? How do you create something where people go, that's a great bit of content, I want to learn more. And I think instead of thinking about how you execute it, because you can play with both and see what works best. Think about what can stop people doing the Statue of Liberty.
And what's the difference between the reel and story? The story disappears, doesn't it?
Stories disappear after 24 hours, reels there permanent.
So is it beneficial then, putting a story on?
Yes, if you, let's say for instance, you were running a promotion or you wanted to share something that was happening on the day. And also sometimes people prefer stories because it comes up on their feed, reels, sometimes people click through it in a different way. So it depends what's right for your customer. Brian.
A couple of ones from online. Just to reiterate that the presentation is available from info@nnbusiness.co.uk. So anybody that contacts us, we will send it individually to you. Video, which is being recorded right now, will also be available from our website, nnbusiness.co.uk. So anyone that's gone on there, you can see it. If you scroll down, it will be uploaded in due course. Also from Karen Henderson, there are people in business who post on Facebook and they are talking for sometimes nearly 5 minutes. And it's repetitive. If you're doing a live talk, how long should you talk for?
It's a good question. Again, there's no right or wrong answer on this. I think what's more important is who you're talking to and what do they want to know and learn from you. I think what's more important is if we go back to the question about content, it should be inspiring, funny or helpful. If it's those three things, then that, as far as I'm concerned, a live could go on for a whole day or it could be done in 2 minutes. I think what's more important is the quality of the content to the audience. And I can understand why you found that live really boring. It sounded boring.
Very boring. He's reading it out. Apologies. Yeah, that's all it is from online.
Thank you.
Trying to decide those actions to take away. When your knowledge and experience, what would be like the top 3 actions to take away?
That's a great question. So 3 actions to take away. I would ask you to look at who your audience is, your content pillars, and how you communicate them. So it's really thinking about who your audience is, where are they, what is the content pillars, and then how you get that to them. So whether that's the channels, the frequency of postings. And I think that really simplifies it, because people overcomplicate social media. Social media is about sharing stories to an audience. So that audience, if they are teenagers, then you're going to think, okay, possibly more TikTok focused, etc., etc. Okay.
But I'm always conflicted with how much am I doing in the queue and the post versus actually what I need to get across, which is welfare and adoptions and reality.
So if you think about those content pillars that I showed you for the Pink Cafe Elan, they got product, people, and restaurants. You might go cute animals, you might do storytelling about adoptions and rescues, and then you might talk about ways to donate or contribute. And I think once you've got those content pillars established, then what you can do is, I talk about batch content create. So when I do my social media, what I'll do is I'll sit down at the start of the month and write all of my content, create it, and then drip it out over the course of the month with those 3 pillars, education, inspiration, about us. I think for you, it's almost thinking about what are those 3 or 4 areas that you want to talk to customers about, or your consumers and your kind of community, and then start sharing those stories. And I think that if you've got those content pillars, it will give you a lot more structure, that when you batch create your content, it will suddenly become easier for you. But it'll also become easier for the people viewing your content, because they'll begin to see patterns, and they'll begin to see that consistency, and they'll begin to understand who you are. Because what you want to do is establish more people to know about you, more people to like you, and more people to trust you. And by trust, what I mean is that they're willing to donate and contribute to your business, which I think is a rather good one. I hope that helps.
Talk a lot about content creation.
Yeah.
But how do you do it? I mean, I use the little Instagram tool and put in the videos together. Is there other ways of doing that? Are there better ways? Like I know you use Canva and things like that.
Yeah, Canva's fantastic, which is a free app.
Yeah.
There's also another one, if you're doing a lot of work on Instagram, have a look at an app called CapCut. Yeah, it's a free app. You can pay for it and get the full version. I suspect most businesses, unless you are putting out sort of huge amounts of content, you can probably use the free version.
Yeah.
That can help you make video content. It can provide you with AI support, trending, all kinds of stuff. Well worth having a look at it. But again, when you talk about content, go and have a look at a tool like ChatGPT that I shared in the presentation.
Yeah.
And just say, I need 20 content ideas during the month of March to support the business, and then put that in, and it will give you the ideas, and then go away and create it on something like that.
You're learning services as well, isn't it? I've just got my head around Instagram.
I hope it helps.
Actually paying to, or whatever it's
Completely free.
Yeah, it's learning it. Okay.
Yeah, and I think there is this little bit where we talk about overwhelm, and I think it's really, really important that you don't get overwhelmed by all the different apps and all the different things it can do.
Yeah.
In its simplest terms, who is your customer? What are your stories? Communicate them. That's it. And then all you're doing then is using the tools to connect the two. But you don't need to get overwhelmed, because there is so much social media. It will be impossible for you to do it all the time. And again, I started off the presentation by showing you some of the social media channels I'm on. It's been a while since I've updated YouTube. Sorry, YouTube. Hi, Brian.
Question from Georgiana. Are there any best hours to post in order to get better visibility so posts don't get lost in algorithms?
Thank you, Georgiana. At the moment, as a rule of thumb, And this is going to change at some point to get the most traction on Meta. So Instagram, Facebook, you're looking at between 5 and 7 p.m. in the evening at the moment. That could change, but at the moment, they are the times that's getting the most traction. And I suspect it's because people are getting home, having a nice cup of tea and not wanting to talk to their other half. That's fine.
Eleanor, what are the main content pillars for a travel agent?
Oh, travel agent. What a great question. I think that should be all about inspiration, place, and people. It's your business. You can make it whatever you want it to be. But I think there's something wonderful about travel that should be about inspiring people, showing them something that they've not seen before. And I think if you're booking with a travel agent, the people and their expertise are really, really fantastic and key. So I'd look about inspiration, place, and people. I think they're a really good starting point for you. But again, it's your business. Go and benchmark what other travel agents do, but really good ones. Maybe have a look at Kunai. Virgin Holidays do lots of really inspiring posts about the destinations that they go to. But again, tweak it and make it work for your business. Good luck.
Okay. Very well. Pillars for cinnamon and spices. That's from apologies, I got that.
Oh, cinnamon and spices. What great. They sound fantastic. I want to know, that's a great point. Where do they come from? A bit, lots and lots about the product, what you can use the product for, and show examples what customers have done with it. Because I always think it's fascinating when people take stuff and do something amazing with it. If you gave my teenager the sugar, I'm sure he'd come up with something fantastic in his kitchen. So maybe think about where it comes from, sharing stories about the products and sharing stories about what you can do with the products. Go and inspire your customers and share the wonderful stories. It's sugar and cinnamon. Great products you've got. Thank you. Yeah, definitely. So there's again, please go and get the presentation from, is it info@nmbusiness.co.uk. Yeah, they'll send you the presentation. On that, there's an organization called Wenta that offers a number of free training. And again, there's a link to it on there. If you want to learn more about Google, there's Google Garage, as they call it. And there's lots and lots of free information. And again, I put on the presentation 4 or 5 people to follow that do just give out free information that I think is really valuable. They're people that I follow because they add a lot of value and richness to my knowledge.
I think when you're talking about the content, you go back to content creation, but a lot of the business you're talking about are bricks and mortar businesses, whereas mine isn't. Mine's like a pop-up event. So mine's like a pop-up event. So I go to different venues around North Northamptonshire and take my trains with me, or I do birthday parties. It's a children's event.
Cool.
So how there's a difference in that, isn't it? I mean,
No, not at all.
Okay.
So if you think about the content pillars,
Yeah.
it's about what do you want your audience to know about you? And maybe for a business.
This is the other thing, sorry.
That's all right.
We get a lot of people come back because they like us as people, but also the kids like the trains. Do you know what I mean? So which side am I looking at from?
What's really interesting,
Okay.
you've got 2 different customers. You've got different customers and consumers. So the person that pays for it is not necessarily the person that consumes it.
Yeah.
However, what you're giving them is an experience.
Yeah.
And I think actually what you should be talking about is the experience that their children are going to get delivered by the team.
Yeah.
And then should maybe think about as another pillar of the content, what it actually is. So I think there's something about the experience, people, and the product. So those content pillars, whilst different to say the King Cafe, the theory behind it is exactly the same for you. What are those content pillars that can inspire your potential audience? They're kind of your stories and the audience, connect them together. That's it. So I'd say it's very, very similar. Just your pillars might be different to some of the other people in the room.
Thank you.
Very well.
Well done. Thank you very much for that, Richard. Brilliant, thanks very much, Joe. Okay. Well, many thanks for everybody with regards to that. I'm now going to stop recording so you can all breathe a sigh of relief.